Hi guys, negotiating a new job offer. Be likable, be grateful and kind, demonstrate value throughout, prepare, and part of that preparation will always be having the end in mind. If you like my content, please like. If you have any comments below on this tricky subject, please comment and subscribe if you like my overall content. This is going to be a long video, so I strongly encourage you to hang in there with me. If you want to pause, keep that tab open and come back to it because we cover so many important topics, and honestly, I've put more time and effort into this video than any other because I think it's such a complex subject to discuss. So let's dive in. I want to get back to that first comment. Be likable. So people who are likable will get better offers at the end. So throughout, be gracious, be kind, even use the right pitch and tone. That can be incredibly impactful. People will go out of their way for more likable candidates. So this could be HR, the hiring manager, the recruiter, etc. So I can tell you as a recruiter, I absolutely went above and beyond for candidates who were gracious throughout the process. And I had a specific example where I got to the end of the process with a candidate who was rude and obnoxious, etc. And I ended up pulling that offer. I spoke with my lead, I spoke with the hiring manager, and I had to tell this candidate that we were pulling the offer and no longer moving forward because of their behavior. So that scenario can happen too. Obviously, this was a extreme case, but it can happen. So be aware. So just step one is be really likable. Step two is very short and sweet, which is show your value. If you're demonstrating this fantastic value throughout, it's going to show up at the end. They're going to see you as valuable and want to pay you more money. Step three, and anybody who's watched my videos, preparation is absolutely key. And I think big part of this upfront prep is know what you want right off the bat. What's the salary you want? What's the stock you want? How many days off do you want? Do you want to be able to work from home on Fridays? Think about these things in the beginning. And two critical things to keep in mind as you're going through this part of the process. One, size of company. Just remember that the size of the company is going to factor into the overall negotiation part. So smaller companies like a startup might only have 10 roles, and you're going to have way more flexibility within the band because there might not be a precedent for that specific role at that company. Whereas a larger company is going to have set levels, set pay bands, and the flexibility might be more in the sign-on and stock component, okay? If you revisit these items while you prep, it's going to be awesome. Next, you really want to take the step of reading, talking to, and networking with anybody who works at the current company. These are going to be really useful steps as well. You can find out so much online, but by talking to people, you can find out the most. And then a next step is a common step, right? You're going to go on salary.com and you're going to find out like salaries for roles in that market, in that space. That's very basic prep, general research that you'll do. And then there's other kind of random research that will come up as well. In 11 states, they can't even ask what you're currently making. So that can be a part of how you prep. If you're in one of those states where they can't ask, it can be really tricky to talk about salary and salary expectations and all those items. So if you prepare, it's great. It's just going to set you up for success, just like anything else. Step four, strategy. The one strategy I really want to focus on is competing offers. You really want to be thinking about the timing. And so this is such a critical strategy piece. You have to kind of time it all together, or else you're going to leave some companies hanging. You're going to leave some other companies out of it. It gets really tricky. So it's one strategy that I really want you to be thinking about up front is, hey, am I going to go for multiple companies, or am I just going to go for my one target company? Step five, there's a lot of steps, is ask questions and be transparent. Sometimes you can find out the answers to these questions throughout the process. You can be asking questions about the salary range. If there's, hey, I can't provide that, well, is it safe for me to assume that this company will pay over 100K for this role. And again, the way you say it is so important because that could be perceived in two different ways, right? So say it with kind generosity. You can also be finding out about PTO time and all these other little items, and ask these questions on occasion throughout the process and not be overbearing with it. But if you slide them in here or there, maybe you can find out some of the answers that are going to be really important for you. Other great questions that are going to help you determine how hard to negotiate at the end are: how long has this position been open? Why is it open? Do you have multiple openings? If the position's been open for 3 months and it's open because of growth and you're the only candidate in the process, if you get to the end, you're going to have way more bargaining power if there's multiple openings, they just opened the role, they don't really have a plan. These things can really set you up for success. So really ask questions. And then secondly, transparency. So if you are going for the competing offer piece and you are interviewing with multiple companies, just be transparent, because that goes to the likability and grateful pieces, that you understand the recruiter, the hiring manager, the overall organization, that it takes a lot of time and effort for them to hire. So if you're telling the recruiter, etc., that, hey, I'm interviewing, or I just went on site here, I'm getting an offer here, it really helps them navigate their process as well. And I said this to every candidate I spoke to for the first time: let me know if you have anything else going on. And 30% of the time, out of the blue, they'd come up with an offer that I had no idea about. And it decreased their likability because it meant that I was going to have to shuffle interviewers. I was going to have to try and get them in sooner. I was going to have to move mountains to push them through the process, especially at a big company like Google. Just be transparent in places that you can be transparent. Okay. Finally, we're getting to the step where the offer's coming. And so before that offer comes, I just want you to remember a few items. One, be serious. Don't really go into this pushing process if you're not really interested in the company. Be serious about the offer. They've put a lot of time and energy into it, as you have as well. Second, again, be grateful, be nice. Every step of the way, that graciousness will play in your favor. And then lastly, a forgotten piece is be enthusiastic. Tell them how excited you are to be at this stage, that you're really excited about not only the role, the company, the people that you've met. Talking about that enthusiasm, again, that's going to bring up your likability piece. So logistics. You're getting the offer. Step one is always ask for the offer in writing. Sometimes you'll get it, sometimes you won't. A lot of companies will not produce a formal offer letter until they're at that stage. But at a minimum, try and get it in an email. It's just nice to have it in writing. Second, is there a deadline? Always important to know about a deadline. They might ask a follow-up question of why, and then that kind of leads into the third step, which is whenever you get an offer, never say, hey, is this negotiable? All you do is you step back and you say, thank you. I'd really like a day or two to talk with my family and consider the offer that you've put on the table for me. And again, just say, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so excited to be at this step. So step 8, how you navigate this one. I think that this is my personal opinion, and I think that it could go a couple different ways. But after you get that initial offer, I typically would like to follow up via email and ask a couple of follow-up questions that can be answered via email and aren't important to do over the phone. So one would be, can you tell me who the ultimate decision maker is? Is it the hiring manager? Is it you as the recruiter? Is there a compensation team? Because knowing that piece will help you know how hard to negotiate. If there's a compensation team, sometimes they're going to stay a little stricter within bands, etc. So really, really know that. And that helps just you looking at it from the overall point of view from the company. And remember, there's going to be internal equity. There's going to be base ranges at certain levels. All that stuff is stuff to keep in mind. And then secondly, you may want to ask in that email, what else is negotiable? Is PTO negotiable? Is working from home negotiable, etc. Just so you know that you're bringing everything to the table in that conversation. And then you'll use this knowledge to come up with your final numbers. Okay, Step 9, 10 and a half minutes in, the actual negotiation. So always done via phone, video, or in person. The most common typically is done over the phone. So step 1, what am I going to say? Of course, be grateful, be kind, and then as you're going through this, really you're going to start by asking questions. So the first question or questions are really going to be open-ended questions. Is there flexibility to move the base salary up? Is there flexibility to receive more stock? And use your words carefully, kindly. Uh, in rare cases, you'll get a recruiter or HR person or hiring manager to say, let me go back and see if we can get you a better offer. But in most cases, they're going to ask if you have numbers in mind. And so the way you preface that is you say, based on the value that I believe I've demonstrated and based on my research, based on what I've read on your organization, here are the numbers. I always like to go high. I have a number that I want in mind and I go above that number thinking that they'll meet me in the middle. This is personally up to you, but at some point you are likely going to have to provide some numbers and provide a reason why. And expect that question. Anticipate the question of why. It's an important one to know the answer to, and if you continue to get back to your overall value and what you've contributed and stayed on that likability path, it's going to really play in your favor. And if they say to you, the offer's not negotiable, this is where that previous question really is important, because if the person you're speaking with is not the ultimate decision maker on salary, you can say, I would really appreciate it if you would just go back and ask on my behalf. And again, you've been gracious, you've been nice. If they say you're at the top of the salary band, right, because again, positions will have pay bands, especially in bigger companies, then you get creative and say, well, what about a sign-on bonus? Or is there potential to get more stock? So you're really getting creative in how you're responding, but anticipate the question of why. Also anticipate the question of where. If you say, based on my data, literally you should have that link that you can send to them saying, this is what I see this specific position paying at this level in this city. And that's also a way to just have great preparation. Lastly, you may get a question in this negotiation that you're not ready for. And so there's a couple different responses. First is, let me think about it. Or a second is, if you don't understand the question, can you help me understand why you're asking this question or where this question is coming from? Again, with a very nice pitch and tone. And then lastly, you may get one of those questions that's sort of an ultimatum question. Hey, Jeff, if I can match everything you're asking for, will you accept on the spot? And really, you should never agree to that. You should always say, it's something that I would strongly consider. Obviously, I'm very excited to be here. And at this point, I'm so happy. But it's something that I would need to discuss with my family. Always having that fallback to needing to discuss it with your family. They have to understand that most of these decisions are not individual decisions. They're made with knowing the fact that it's going to impact a lot of people, not just yourself. Okay, so now item 2 within this step is negotiate everything at the same time. Don't just negotiate salary or stock right up front. You want to get everything out of the way, because when that recruiter or hiring manager or comp person goes to work for you, they want to be working on it holistically. So everything that you want, put it out on the table the first time. It's really important. And again, it goes to the likability piece. Third, get a timeline. When can I expect to hear back? That's important. It's going to be especially important if if you have competing offers. That's when it's going to get really important. And lastly, in this negotiation piece, all I can recommend is do a lot of research. We've covered a lot of topics today, but do your research and anticipate this back and forth, and just have a lot of good flexibility and kindness throughout, and it will really set you up for success. Ultimately, the last step, step 10, if they come back and they're not really giving you what you want, you can get a little bit more creative. So outside of a signing bonus or more stock, if you know that they have an annual bonus, for instance, if a bonus is going to be prorated because you're 6 months going in and you only have 6 months left on that review cycle, then maybe you can ask, hey, instead of a prorated bonus, could I get a full bonus? Can I accrue vacation days immediately? Would you be willing to pay me the same salary if I didn't take the job in San Francisco and I took it in Seattle? I mean, this is some of the creativity you can talk about. And then if none of these things are moving items, but you're still very interested in the organization, could we put something in writing where we revisit these items in 3 to 6 months? Again, you're going to want to play around with that a lot, but there's a lot to be said for being creative. And I think candidates get a little too focused on salary or days off, and they don't think about all the other items that come into play. Wow, this is a lot of information. I'm going to try and put as many notes as possible to talk through all this stuff, but I hope this helps. Again, this graciousness, this is the first place that you start. And then if you're researching and you're prepared and having a good dialogue, these are the things that are really going to set you apart. If you like, please like. If you have any comments specifically in this space, please comment. And if you like my overall content, please subscribe. Thanks so much. Have a great day.